What's up, Lorehounds? Here Sunday at PAX East. It might be a little rough, but we're here with Heart of Thorns. We're checking out the latest or upcoming expansion for Guild Wars 2. We're here with Matt and Isaiah, two game designers. So one of the big things you guys announced or gave more details on is the gliders. And actually, that's kind of like your motif. So what's going on? How customizable are they? Where are we taking this? Is it just for like exploration, or is it going to go as far as PvP ganking?
You know, really the gliders are built into our mastery system, and so we're gonna, add a lot of different abilities and things that you can do in them. Some examples of this are there's a lot of we call them updrafts around the world, and you can fly your glider into the updrafts and get around. So that's a little more explorer based. There'll be kind of puzzles and things that you can get into that you couldn't get into unless you had the ability to use those updrafts. And then we'll be able to make it so that you can move faster and your endurance will drain less on the updraft. And so really kind of using it as a puzzle system, so we can put all kinds of things over exploration, but those will lead you to a lot of interesting things.
Yeah, and even in the demo content, you can see a lot of those things. Updrafts shoot you way back up into the air, and so they let us build interesting puzzle spaces and interesting encounter spaces. The Wyvern fight in the demo is a good example of this. The Wyvern has these massive wing buffets that blast you off of the platform, and then you deploy your glider and you aim for one of those updrafts, and you're back in the fight and back in the action. So it's really fun to see players coming up over the edges of things and arriving back in the fight when you think you're just about to lose. And so that's one of those.
Cinematic.
Yeah. One of those moments that we wanted to capture.
We also have the first new class coming in. So it's taken you guys a while, obviously, to get the class, but it's an expansion, so it's kind of a little anticipated. How much time has actually been put in balancing and making sure everything fits tight with the rest of the game?
Those kind of go in phases. The first phase is really just kind of coming up really with the theme and the feel of the profession. And a lot of that kind of started from a couple fun concept artists of this like mist warrior. And from there, we kind of came up with lots of different things about it and decided, hey, it's going to channel these legends from the mist. And then we figured out a lot of those pieces. And so it's in kind of a state where we're starting to show it, starting to get it off. And so you can see all of the kind of core functionality, how it plays. But really balance doesn't really come into play until we get a lot of people in there playing. A lot of people playing PvE, PvP, World v. World, and we can see how it matches up in all those areas and do a lot of tweaking and things like that with it. And so there'll be a lot more balance to come. This is kind of just the first view, really sets the tone of what the guy's about. You can kind of see where it's going, but there's more balance to come.
One of the other things you guys have a lot is super unique areas. Whether the lore is making it really unique or actually the way it's designed, the art style. We have Mugumu coming, and again, we're fitting with a really unique experience. How do you piece it together with what you're trying to offer? Is there like the art leads the lore leads the art? How does that get designed?
Yeah, so a lot of that is a very collaborative process, and we have an amazing art team. And so concept art is involved in a lot of that. They give us these fantastic landscapes and images that help us kind of conceptualize, like, what does it even mean to be in a jungle that has, we've been talking about kind of having 3 biomes in the jungle, where you're all the way up in the tops of the trees and up above the trees where the roots of Mortarmouth have kind of crashed into ships and like lifted them way up into the sky. And then you're on the ground floor and what lives there, and then you're underneath it and you're in the roots.
It seems like a lot of playing with the Z-axis on this. I mean, we got the gliders and then the 3 levels in the new zone. So is that like a theme, or is it just happenstance that came together that way?
When we looked at the jungle region, we wanted to feel different than the rest of the game. We wanted to make it so the moment you walk in there, you know that this is a different place and that there are different challenges and it's dangerous. And so the Z-axis really allowed us to get that just danger of movement. You're high up, you look down, if you slip, you die. And so and that really allowed us to get that feeling of danger all over. And then it really also kind of gave us a different feel of kind of compacting everything together, because now you have 3 dimensions in your amount of content. And so we can get that feeling of this dense, dangerous jungle. And so those were kind of real like conscious decisions from the beginning that then we kind of build on and build on and build on to just get you that sense of danger.
So we actually have a bunch of questions coming from the community. We threw up a Reddit and Lorehound community itself throwing some questions. So we don't necessarily know how deep you can get into some of these, but they really want to know, such as guild halls. What's coming in Heart of Thorns there? Is there new content, or is it we're just building upon what's there?
Yeah, guild halls is a really big part of Heart of Thorns. We really want to give a lot of tools to the community to be able to build lots of different things, and there'll be ways for players to get together and build stuff inside the guild halls. So guild halls is kind of just our terminology for the whole types of features, but there'll be a lot of good things coming for guilds. We're not talking about them right now. We will be talking about them in the future, but that's kind of the core thing. Is it's a big pillar of this expansion.
And what about the personal story coming for the new profession? You know, is that going to be the same like we experienced with Guild Wars 2, where it was super deep, unique experience, or is it going to be something a little different because it's coming later to the game?
So the personal story portions in the base game are actually tied to your race, and they're not specific to your profession. So Revenant won't have unique story from 1 to 80. They'll go through whatever race, and then we call them Mad Libs. At the beginning, when you pick and you define out what your character is, you'll go through that same process. But definitely in Heart of Thorns, we have a lot of story, and you can see that even in the demo. It starts out with you're in a story instance. You're coming across the remnants of the Pack fleet. You're trying to figure out who's alive and who's dead. You're trying to figure out, can we trust the Sylvari? And that leads directly into the open world. And we've been really focused on making those things more intertwined. And so when you go from the story to open world, you see a lot of the characters that you saw in story. They might be in the open world, and their story continues there, and you work with other players to help them. And so we've been focusing a lot on that. Really driving towards, let's create that narrative that really pulls you through this entire experience and is all really put together in a way that feels cohesive.
Yeah, one other little trick that we've been kind of doing is we're bringing some of the decisions that you used to make in kind of the Mab Libs or in between the instances and putting them inside each of the instances. And this really allows you to experience both sides of the story if you want to see it, and kind of play through and see all the angles. And so we're really kind of excited to see how that plays out.
The other thing we heard a lot was crafting. What's going to come from Heart of Thorns in the crafting sphere?
You know, we haven't talked a ton about that. Some of it we've seen is, you know, some work you can get with the masteries to get some precursor abilities and be able to start working on them. And we'll continue to update and do all kinds of crafting, and they're really a lot of it intertwined with the mastery system. Learning the lore of the creatures in the region, those will unlock vendors and things that you can do to help get more crafting recipes and stuff like that. But we'll talk a lot more about crafting as we get closer.
So the other obvious question, I guess, would be, you know, Guild Wars 2 came out in like mid-2012. It's been 3 years, kind of like an eternity in the gaming sphere. We've already went through another console cycle. We've got DirectX 12 coming out. Are we expecting any kind of needed tech or like want to upgrade your GPU for this?
You know, a lot of the tech that we've been working on is a lot of foundational work kind of in the game itself. The ability for us to have more tools for AI, taking some of the systems and reworking them, like the Defiance system and specializations. And so a lot of that tech is there. And so you won't need to upgrade your GPU or anything like that, and it'll be kind of exactly what it was before. But a lot of that tech is kind of building tools for us to make better gameplay, harder challenges, and cool things.
All right, so a lot of background tech is coming in for you guys, not necessarily for us needing to go out there. All right, Lorehounds, we can get some Guild Wars 2 action. Right now, of course, you can jump in the game. Heart of Thorns coming out, I don't know, sometime soon, apparently. So they'll probably be getting beta soon, at least, but they won't talk about it, period. So
When it's ready.
But yeah, TM. Thanks so much, guys.
You're welcome.